Hello, everybody. It's Wild Man Z here for another edition of my library tour 2022. I'm going to cover a lot of TBRs tonight, maybe one or two books that I've read. This book was really nice. I got this for Christmas from my good friend Adam. He's really fanatic about literature, particularly fantasy, and I'm not a big fantasy reader, so he's trying to get me hooked. So he has somebody to talk with about it. And so he got me a few books that are like samplers of modern fantasy. One is Stephen Erickson's Gardens of the Moon. That's part of Malazan. And I hear a lot about this. I hear it's one of the better, if not the best, fantasy series. Some people say ever. Some people put this over Lord of the Rings. I watch a lot of the sci-fi fantasy-oriented sites like Quinn's Ideas, Media Death Cult, and I forgot which ones, but several of the sites that I watched talked about the books in this series, and they all said it was really good. So another one that got me was Robin Hobb, Assassin's Apprentice. He said he actually used the one that he recommended that I start with. I'm not sure if it's sword or sorcery or what it is. It looks like it has an assassin type dude on it. It says Assassin's Apprentice, so maybe it's sword and sorcery. I'm not sure. I don't even know if Robin Hobb is a man or a woman. I really don't care. It has some other pictures. It looks like it's a trilogy. The Farsighted trilogy continues. So I'm looking forward to reading it. And he also bought me, I've heard of, Robert Jordan, The Wheel of Time. Not only have I heard of it recently because of the series, but I've heard about this for years. This is a good one to start with. But I think it has a whole slew of books. And that's the problem I have with the fantasy genre, is that they tend to have really big series. And sci-fi, we have series as well, but we have a lot of standalones. So, I don't know. See if I like it. Here's another book I just picked up a couple months ago. I was reading like the best horror, I think, for the year 2021. And this book is called The Only Good Indians. Kept popping up. It's by, let me see here, Stephen Graham Jones. Not familiar with that author. It says Gritty and Gorgeous, New York Times. That sounds pretty good. I like something gritty and gorgeous. And it's horror. It has a deer on the cover. I like deer. I don't know what it's about. I wanted to read one good modern horror book. So I wanted to read somebody I don't know. I didn't want to read Stephen King or somebody like that. So picked it up. Here's a science book. I don't know if you consider technical. I'm not going to show textbooks, but I don't think this is considered. It's Chris Langan. He has a model of the universe. It's called something like it's a cognitive theoretic model. I think he calls it CMU, cognitive theoretical model of the universe, CTMU. Here he is on the back. He's a pretty big guy. He said he could bench press 500 pounds at one time. That's cool. He's actually, what I like about him is that he's a self-trained physicist. I'm a little concerned going in because just flipping through this, I don't see the things I'm familiar with from physics. Like, when you study electromagnetism, you have four main equations, the Maxwell equations that pretty much set you up. When you study quantum, you have some form of a Schrodinger equation or matrix mechanics if you go the Heisenberg route. That gives you the eigenvalue type problem that you like to work with in that case to describe quantum mechanics. If you're a chemist, you work with a periodic table. If you're a particle physicist, you have sort of a standard model and equations associated with that. And this doesn't have any of those type of things in it. So he's coming at this from a totally different direction. There's not a lot of tables in here, and I don't see any math that I recognize. So I also looked where he publishes, and there are journals that I'm not familiar with. Like, if you have something really big in science, you publish in Nature or Science. Or one of the particular branches of nature. They have like Nature Medicine and so forth. And then physics, we have if you're really big but not big necessarily to a general audience. Although I think this would be big to everybody. You tend to publish in physical review letters and journals like that from the American Physical Society and other big ones that we recognize. And he doesn't publish there. He publishes in journals that he says are for high IQ people. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? It's maybe I'm not high IQ enough to read the journal you're publishing, but I read physical review letters and science, Nature. So here's another book by him. It's I think this is just that might actually be contained in the bigger book, but I got all the stuff. I'm gonna read what the guy has to say. Because what I really like about him is that he's self-trained and he's not part of the academic dogma. But on the other hand, conventional academics has it's it's held the test of time, and it's provided us with a lot of valuable insights about the universe. So, you know, I come from conventional academics, so I kind of, you know, embrace it. Here's a book that I picked up. It's just a fun grammar book, Grammar Girl, quick and dirty tips for better writing. And this is just a really handy little book. I've been using it quite a bit in the last couple weeks. Just, you know, especially with commas. I have a hard time with commas. Here's a book though that in similarly that I really rely on. This is the Chicago Manual of Style, which to me I use this a lot more than the dictionary. I tend to look words up online or use the spell checker and use the suggested spelling. But this, I mean, when I write something of literary, I'm constantly looking up things dealing with use of colon, uses of hyphens, and so forth. And they have other things in here. If you write in science journals, the correct ways to write scientific notation and which preferred symbols off the keyboard if you're writing certain things like derivatives and so forth should you use off your palettes, which makes a difference. Usually when we write in scientific science journals, peer-reviewed journals, they usually have a recommended series of guidelines for each journal, and you should read them before you submit because that makes a big difference. If the editor gets it and you're not using the correct symbols for that journal, like American Chemical Society or something like that, they tend to pass your paper. This is really a graphic novel, but I just want to show it because it's so damn cool. It's called Monstrous, that kind of spelling. It's by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda, and female production team here. It's a girl power type of thing. Very Cthulhu mythos heavy. A lot of animal people. It's really cool. I read the first book of it, and the art's really groovy. I mean, check this out. It's absolutely beautiful artwork. Looks like it's painted. And if you like Lovecraftian type of stuff and you enjoy female protagonists, a lot of strange creatures. That we got some Cthulhu action going on with her. She's morphing into some kind of old god type of creature. And here, this is definitely a Lovecraft type of image here. It's really cool. I read the first book. It's the kind of thing I really didn't understand it fully. I read it had like 6 or 7 issues compiled, and it kind of has a lot of mystery associated with it. It made me want to keep reading, so I ordered the second copy of it. Last book, I believe, that I have out at least. Here's another one I want to read. This is Shadow of the Torturer by Gene Wolfe, which I don't know too much about, but I just keep hearing about it in all these different fantasy and sci-fi booktube discussions and reviews. They always say this is a real good one to read. It's on everybody's list of best fantasy or sci-fi, and I'm not really sure what it is. It seems like it's almost like Slipstream, like it's a medley of different things kind of mixed together. Really groovy cover. I don't know who that artist is, but I like the cover. I guess that's the Torturer. So on that note, I'll leave you with that image, and I'm out of here. I'm running out of seconds on my little phone. I got to figure out how to get a little more time. So hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. Wildman Z's out, and have some good reading time.